Hello, good day to all. Today again I come up with some new idea for AI which is called as AI assisted postmortems, which is a hype or actually useful. So let's say every engineering in the organization wants better postmortems. Yet most postmortems are written only after the most valuable evidences has already started to disappear. In Slack, conversations are incomplete, logs are scattered across the multiple systems, distributed traces are difficult to correlate, deployment history lives in another tool. Engineers remember events differently. By the time someone starts writing the post mortem report, the investigation has already become a memory reconstruction exercise rather than an evidence based analysis. This is one of the biggest paradox in modern software engineering. Everyone wants better post mortem, but Ev- but very few team captures the evidences while incident is actually unfolding. That raises an important question. Can artificial intelligence genuinely improve the postmortems, or is this simply another technology trend? My view is that AI should not be judged by how well it writes documents. It should be judged by how well it helps the engineers understand an incident while it is still happening. Let's take an example. The anatomy of modern production incident. Let's consider a realistic production scenario. An e-commerce site platform processes thousands of customer transactions every minute. A routine deployment of checkout services completes at 10:02 a.m. Initially, everything appears healthy. A few minutes later, checkout latency starts increasing. Payments retard spikes. API gateways begins returning the HTTP 5xx errors. Inventory reservation fails. Customer checkouts begin failing. Within the minutes, multiple engineering teams are paged. Operational dashboards are flooded with alerts. Each monitoring tool reports something different. The incident commander is faced with the most important question of entire investigation. What changed first, and how did the failure propagate across the dependent services? That question matters for more than simply identifying which service is currently reporting the error. If you compare this with the traditional approach, most incidents investigations follows a familiar pattern, right? Engineers begin switching between the multiple systems like infrastructure dashboards, application monitors, alerting platform, centralized logs, distributed traces, deployment history, CI/CD pipelines, team chat, run books. Every platform contains useful information. None of them tells us the complete story. The investigation becomes an exercise in manually correlating these disconnected pieces of evidences. Ironically, during the most critical phase of the incident, Engineer spends more time collecting the context than solving the problem. The challenges is not lack of telemetry. Modern system generates more telemetry than ever before. The challenge is that telemetry is fragmented. We need a There is a missing piece called operational lineage. This is where I believe AI becomes genuinely valuable. Coming from a background of enterprise data architecture and data lineage, I have found a useful parallel. In data engineering, lineage tells us where the data originated, how it was transformed, where it moved, and what downstream systems were affected. Production incidents follows a remarkably similar pattern. An incident also has a lineage. A deployment introduces a change. A change affects one services and services impacts dependent services. Failure propagate through the architecture until the customer experiences symptoms. I prefer to this as operational lineage. Instead of tracking a data movement, operational lineage tracks how incident evolves through application, infrastructure, deployment, dependencies, APIs, databases, and user facing services. Understanding that lineage transforms an investigation from reactive troubleshooting into evidence based reasoning. So this is where the another which is important is dependencies graph changes everything. This is why dependency graphs are becoming so important. Without dependencies awareness, every alert appears equally important. With the dependency graph, engineers can distinguish root cause, downstream systems, collateral impact, blast radius. Instead of asking which service is failing, we begin asking which service changed first and how did the failure propagate. That single shift dramatically changed the investigation. Where AI actually helps. There is a misconception that AI should automatically identify the root cause. I don't believe that the right objective. The real value of the AI lies in reducing the investigation time by assembling the context automatically during an incident, and AI can continuously correlate infrastructure alerts, application logs, distributed traces, deployment events, and so on. Instead of presenting engineering with dozens of unrelated alerts, AI can organize them into a coherent incident narrative. It can identify, probably trigger, affected services, likely blast radiuses, chronological timelines, evidence backed hypotheses, and so on. That's a much more practical and achievable application of AI. AI assisted post mortem. Once AI has already collected the organized the investigation evidence generated, the post mortem becomes a natural extension of investigation itself rather than beginning with an empty document after production has recovered. Engineerings already have incident summary, timelines, customer impact, service affected, supporting evidences, root cause hypothesis, deployment history, action items. The engineering role shift from reconstructing the history to validating their conclusions. That significantly improves both the quality and consistency of postmortems. Human judgment remains central. One point deserves emphasis. AI should never replace the engineering judgment. Engineering still decides whether a rollback is appropriate, whether the hotfix should be deployed, whether the hypothesis is correct, what corrective action should be taken, and what organizational lessons should be learned. AI accelerates understanding. Human remains responsible for decisions. The relationship is complementary, not competitive. As I often summarize it, AI provides a context, engineers makes the decisions. Forms like Sherlock's fits. This is where the latest generation of AI-powered incident response platform becoming interesting. One example is Sherlock's AI. Rather than simply aggregating the alerts or generating the summaries after an incident, Sherlock focuses on correlating alert logs, deployment events, and operational signals into the unified investigation workflow. Whether any platform delivers a value ultimately depends on its integration, data quality, and how well it fits an engineering team's workflow. However, I believe the broader direction is an important part. The future is not about replacing the engineering, it is about reducing the investigation time by giving them complete operational context. And the final thought. For the years, we have invested heavily in collecting the operational data. The next challenge is not collecting the more information, it's connecting the information we really have. That's where I believe AI can make its greatest contribution, not by replacing the engineers, not by automatically resolving the incidents, not by writing the polished reports after everything is over, but by preserving the evidences, revealing the operational lineages, identifying the dependencies, and helping ultimately the future of the incident response belongs to the organization that can learn faster from every production incident. Because in the end, better postmortems don't begin after an incident is over. They begin the moment the first alert arrives. You are all enjoyed this video. Thank you for your time and listening. Please share your comments